Right.
Good evening, good evening. Hello, Redbirds. We are going to let everyone enter the room before we start. So about 3 to 4 minutes, Redbirds. I recognize lots of names in here. Good evening, Redbirds. We're going to give everybody just a few more minutes to join. Thank you for being here tonight. We're going to get started in 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, I do see that I have someone who has a question. If you have a question right away, go ahead and put it in the Q&A box at the bottom. I'm going to be answering questions at the end of the program. For those of you who are in the room, we are recording this session and we will put this on our website so you can share with your friends also that if they missed this evening, they can watch it later. Okay. Okay, well, we're going to get started, and hopefully, more of our Redbird friends can join us as we move forward with this program. Good evening. My name is Chris Harding. I am the Executive Director of Alumni Engagement at Illinois State University. I see many of our people that I've met online, so welcome. And those of you whom I haven't met, welcome to our inaugural alumni travel program. This evening, I'd like to welcome Robert Bingle. He is our Senior Director of Sales from OrBridge, and that's the vendor that we're working with to help support this program. We're going to be hearing from him this evening. We are excited about this program. This is a unique opportunity for our alumni to experience different parts of the world, but also to connect with one another. So thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for sharing your time. How the program's going to work tonight is Robert is going to talk about the flavors of Northern Italy trip. The main portion of the program is about 15 to 20 minutes long, and he has a series of slides that he's going to show you. But at the end, I'm going to be monitoring the Q&A section. So I will go through all of those questions at the end to make sure that your questions are answered this evening. If by chance we conclude the program and we haven't answered your question, you can email me directly at chris.harding@illinoisstate.edu, and I will be sure to answer your questions, or you can call our office at any point. Okay, with that, I am going to hand this program over to Robert. And I'm going to turn my video off and I'm going to mute myself, but I'm still on the program monitoring the chat. So welcome, Robert. Thank you so much for being here with us. And we look forward to hearing about the flavors of Northern Italy.
Thank you, Chris. I'm excited to talk about it. I am going to share my screen here. Um, and hopefully you all are now seeing the first slide, which is a beautiful shot along Lago di Iseo in northern Italy. And so as a tour operator, we specialize with university alumni associations. In fact, that's almost solely who we work with. And as this is a new partnership with Illinois State, we couldn't be more excited. I grew up in the Chicagoland area. I'm very familiar with the Redbirds and their community. So this in particular for me is even additionally exciting. So this evening, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about what the educational affinity market is. How does it differ from the general travel market? And then tell you a little bit about the Northern Italy trip and then an exciting Galapagos trip in 2026. So thank you, Chris, and your team for letting me take a bit of everyone's time here and talk travel. We so just in a general overview, so we have been around for about 20 years, and I would say 90% of the partners we work with are school alumni associations, universities, or liberal arts schools. We work with a few museum groups, but our whole design is based around creating trips that are not available to the general market, but just these university groups. So it's called educational travel, excuse me. It's a small sliver of the travel industry, but it's not just, sitting down and getting lectured or whatever. The idea is that we're creating trips that speak to universities in terms of you're not maybe walking around with a 20-year-old college kid in Greece. You're walking around with a professor or an expert who has written articles or books and things of that nature about the trip. But then it's also fun. You're with other Redbirds. Uh, this first trip that I dive into more detail about will give you kind of an idea of that. You'll be with 20 other people from Illinois State, as opposed to being maybe on a Viking cruise with 200 people you've never met. And nothing against that. It's just a different style of travel. So we also specialize in small group sizes. So we're not trying to do 300 people. The first trip we'll talk about is 20. The Galapagos trip is 40. And that's important to us so that when you're experiencing these places, not only do you have access to the experts, the guides in a small group setting, but you're also a small group with Illinois State. You're not getting lost in the mix and the shuffle of these larger kind of trips. Um, Also with that, because we do have small groups and in general, we're not doing huge bulk, to tens of thousands of travelers. We're in the thousands and hundreds. We're a little bit more nimble with our partners on the ground. So we have special access to cultural sites. We work across the board a lot more with family-run properties. So when you're in Italy, you're kind of on the ground, a little bit a part of it, uh, the daily life, as opposed to maybe just being on a hop on, hop off bus in Rome. And not to denigrate any of those kind of trips, but our model is that we want you to be with like-minded people from your school and getting experiences that are not open to the general public that you're getting through Illinois State. And so the other thing is that we really want you to have a full kind of inclusive experience. So when you get there, you're met by travel director that is just devoted to you and your small group. You have expert guides on the ground. They're from there. They're not, you know, a mercenary hired from some other area who just memorizes the history of Verona. This is somebody from Verona who's walking you around. And because we're smaller and because, our market are these universities and schools, our partners on the ground understand that. And they cater to it. They become part of the trip. And so the other thing is that when you travel with us, you have a full pre-departure experience. So I'll dive into a little bit about our trips, but from when you call with interest or maybe you click on the link about one or the other trip on the website, we're there every step of the way. If you decide to book or you just want to talk more about it, maybe it takes you a year and you do the trip next year, pre-departure, air department, guest services, and then on the ground. From when you land, we're there to when we wave goodbye. Um, so I think it's a part of the travel industry that some people aren't fully aware of. That their schools are doing these neat trips, and Chris and her team have worked really hard to develop this. And I think we nailed two really great trips to begin it with. And again, I'm just very pleased to be able to talk to you about them. Affinity. So the when you're on the trip and you're with other Illinois State people or the picture, I don't know if that's Ohio State, whoever it may be, um, there's that built-in kind of trust that, hey, this is an Illinois State trip. And then there's that built-in, hey, where did you live freshman year, XYZ? Or there's a conduit from the university on telling you about all the exciting things that are happening. Maybe you're somewhere that's nearby a study abroad program, and all of a sudden you're meeting, 19-year-olds from Illinois State and Italy. And you're talking to them about their experience, and it's bringing all these things, or you're, having a few fun drinks on a veranda overlooking Verona and you're singing the Redbird Fight song, whatever it may be. We want to foster that. And for us, that's the biggest thing is that you're seeing these incredible places, but you're seeing it through the university that we hope that you love. So, okay, enough of that background. Let's talk about the trip, which is the fun part. So for our inaugural trip, our beginning trip, very excited. It is the Flavors of Northern Italy in September of 2025. And I'll talk a little bit about through the itinerary, a little bit about the trip that'll give you kind of idea of what to expect. This is such a neat area of Italy. So it's up kind of by the Italian Lakes region. So if you look on the map, we fly into Verona, so Romeo and Juliet history and whatnot, but we're not far from the lakes. And we spend 2 days going around the lakes. And then if you kept going north, you'd go up through the Dolomites and the Alps, and you'd be up in Switzerland. So it's a very unique area compared to maybe Rome or Florence. And we find it so neat because you're just in this kind of magical countryside out in northern Italy. And so where we go and where we stay is just about maybe 40 minutes outside of Verona. And it's a vineyard, a olive grove, a award-winning restaurant. And we are the only group there. And we stay there, and it's a group of 20 people. And we already have a few people who have signed up from Illinois State, and hopefully we'll get some more because we hope to welcome you on it. And then you stay in one place at this incredible property to tell you a little bit about, but then you go off during the day into these various excursions, whether it be wine or cheese making or the history of, the San Martino battle. But this map, because I have to keep my timing down, I could talk for like 3 hours here. This map gives you an idea of kind of where it is. And I'm also at the end going to tell you about extensions. So the trip itself is 9 days. However, if you want to extend on either end, we offer two areas where you can kind of explore more of Italy. So we call it the Flavors of Italy because we've found that there's, specifically Italy and Spain, there's some great areas, regions where you can get into the history, the culture, the dynamic elements of it all, and also kind of base it around gastronomy. And so using that as kind of like a common thread. And within that, it's important for us to have the property be part of the experience. So you're not at a Holiday Inn or a Hilton Garden Inn or whatever the case may be, and then you're going out. No, the property is part of the actual trip. And so for this trip, the inaugural trip, we stayed at a property called the Selva Capuzza. Now, this is a third generation winery, Olive Garden, restaurant that's now become this, award-winning place that people come from all around Italy at. And we are the only ones staying on property. The apartments that we stay at were originally part of a 14th century abbey, and then they crossed hands in different ownership of landlords and things of that nature in Italy. And then eventually the family bought it a little bit under a century ago. And I want to point out the tower you see by the property. So the property being the left in that lower picture, that tower is called San Martino Tower. And that is the site of a battle that might have been the most integral battle in the unification of Italy in the late 1890s when they went from provinces to actual one unified nation. And Napoleon fought there. And so you can bike ride or walk there. And in addition, then, so while we're there, it's us, it's the family, patrons coming from around Italy to the restaurant. But it's just very personal. And then sometimes you don't even want to leave, but we've got some good things to go and see when you do leave. So, I'll just go briefly through. When you arrive, just to give you an idea about the trip, when you arrive into Verona, we take you to the property. We have a great welcome reception. Actually, let me go back and cover this. When you look at the pricing per person, it is all inclusive except for your airfare, and that's every excursion, every meal, all gratuities to guides, to luggage handling, to your pick up at the airport, to drop off at the airport, to anything you can think of that isn't a personal expense. For example, buying gifts or things of that nature. And the other thing is no single supplement means that if you are a solo traveler, sometimes on these trips, you get charged extra because you're taking a room from the inventory XYZ. This trip, no, it's the same price if you're a solo traveler or if you're two people traveling together. Wanted to clarify that. So then our second full day in Italy, we get right into it. So we go out to Lago di Iseo, the picture up on the top left. If you've heard of Lake Como and George Clooney and Amal Clooney, I find this interesting. There's that little island in the middle of Lake de Iseo. That was the first place he wanted to purchase a property, and they wouldn't sell it to him. They were that exclusive and that traditional in their ways. It's a fishing village. So he had to then go over to Como. So that's to give you an idea of how neat that place is. Well, then we get up into the wine region that first day. And not only are you trying the sparkling wines of Lombardy, but you're seeing what Lombardy is versus Piedmont versus, Venice, these other areas. It's all intertwined with the history and culture. And then we end the day going to another tour at Al and this is a prime example of this is not a tour that if you go to I'm from Chicago, I think of the Goose Island Brewery, that anyone could go to. No, this is a small family, the Al that you just go and it's just us. And then back to our property and then we do a full day just at the property where with Luca is the owner and CEO of the property. His mom is the consulting chef to a Michelin star chef came over to him and he still works with the mother and we do cooking lesson, all the traditional Italian things you can think of, and you just walk the vineyard, there's a pool, you take a nap, but again, it's only us, just Illinois State and whatnot. And then we get into a little more history and city touring, which would be going to Verona. So you see from one of I think the second most intact Colosseum, other than the one in Rome, of that period is Verona. We see the famous inspiration for Romeo and Juliet, and then the incredible Renaissance architecture of the area. Then we go up and we see Amarone, which is this really deep red, rich wine that they infuse into risotto, which I had never tried before, but it's one of these incredible dishes. The gentleman in the bottom left has it, that you just throw a dash of salt on and you need nothing more than that. And we get to cook it and then eat what we're cooking, and then the pros come and give it a better version of it. And then we go, I mentioned briefly the San Martino Tower, which is about a half a mile away from us. And so this was the site of, you had Franz Joseph, the Prussian king, and he's fighting Napoleon and the Italian forces, and they converge on this site, which is in view of our property. And then Napoleon and the Piedmont army win, and then 2 years later, Italy is unified. So outside of Roman period and things of that nature, certainly in modern history, it might be one of the most significant sites in all of Italy. The nation we know it was kind of founded. Thank you, Napoleon. But it's great. And then we go to Malcasine, which is a medieval city. So you kind of go and then see what it was like along the lakes back in the 13th century, and you get much more of that stone and the ramparts, and you can walk around. You can bike ride. Um, but again, all of this you're with expert guides, you're with one of our professional travel directors, and you're with fellow Illinois State people. So maybe you're talking about a football game from last season or whatever the case may be. Um, Modena is a kind of a leisurely day where we go and see where balsamic wine vinegar is made, and that would be the bottom left picture, and just unbelievable when you see the amount of time and passion uh, that goes into it. My one big takeaway was that what the gentleman who runs it said, we're really excited. We're going to open this bottle of balsamic vinegar up in a few years to commemorate the birth of my son. And I said, well, how old is it? He said, well, it's 38. So in 2 years, we're going to open it. It's 40 years old. So just the patience that goes into it. Um, and then Ronca to end it all, we couldn't do without a full day of cheese and then gourmet Italian pizza. But then always going back to that winery, that vineyard. So I think this is a wonderful, wonderful introductory program. Um, very excited for the few people who have signed up, and hopefully we get a few more. And then extensions, just to briefly talk about this. So on either end of all the trips we offer, uh, we present optional extensions, which can vary in length and distance from the main program. But the idea is being that um, who knows the next time you'll be in Italy or the Galapagos for that matter. Maybe you want to add a few things onto it to kind of enhance or add to your trip. And so for this one, these are two of our most popular. On the front end, before you go to Verona and then the Northern Italy program, we have a extension that goes down to the Italian Riviera. So you're on the Med at Cinque Terre, which are these five just classic, beautiful fishing villages. If you look in the bottom left there, those multicolored houses and properties there. And each of them are a little bit different, the five of them, but you can take a train to go and see them all. And we go and take different, excursions to them each day. And then on the other end, at the end of the trip, Venice, which, if you are up for it, you've never been, of course, it's just an incredible experience. And so those are to enhance. So I know I went through that quite quickly, but I hope it gives you just a snapshot, and just imagine that with, 19 or 18 other folks who went to the same school of you in 2026. We're really excited for this one, and you can take registrations as early as now. Some people like to plan earlier or a little bit later, but if you are interested, you can always put down a reservation and change your plans. But the Galapagos Islands with a Machu Picchu extension, and it's just absolutely fantastic there. So at this time of year is a wonderful time to be there. We use in the islands, in that top left, you can see we use a small ship. It's 40-person maximum. With solo travelers, we end up operating at about 35 people. So you might see off in the distance a ship of like 100 people or 110, and we go into these little coves and small bays where we don't see another human except just for us. And what I also love about this is we start going into Quito in Ecuador. So it's the capital city of Ecuador, and it was the first UNESCO heritage site, capital city in the world. And so some of these bigger companies they'll get you straight down to the islands. They'll get you there for 3 days and they'll shuttle you out. But we spent some time actually in Ecuador, go to some pre-Columbian sites, do some of the flavors of that city, that capital city, and then we go into the islands. The ship we use is 100% staff Ecuadorian. It's for the residents, the people of Ecuador, the Galapagos Islands is their gem, and they really and truly live and breathe it. And so everyone, our naturalists, our guides, the ship staff, the bartenders, everything, they're Ecuadorian, and we've been working with them for 20 years. We go down there and it's kind of like a familial experience to these incredible islands. Um, and I don't know if I have a slide on it, but I'll go back to Machu Picchu. And then of course, if you're down there and you think, I don't know if I'll ever get down by the equator in South America again, I got to see Machu Picchu. Well, you can go and do that. We go to the Sacred Valley. You take a train up to Machu Picchu. We stay the night just at the base of it. You can go up the evening and in the morning and get the full bit. And I mean, it's just spectacular. So you get these two almost bucket list things. Some would say Antarctica is the ultimate bucket list. Mm, I'd say it's a lot of snow, a lot of ice. It's neat. And though you can see penguins there, you can see penguins in the Galapagos too. I would say the Galapagos and Machu Picchu to me are the great bucket list trip. And so anyways, I ramble, but we're so excited to offer that in 2026. And I'm going to share a link here, and I know Chris will be able to share it as well in the video, but then further on where you can find all the details, the dates, the timing, the pricing, everything like that. Here it is. There we go. At that link below. And yeah, and I again, thank you so much. I know I kind of went through it a little bit quickly, but it's both of these are heck of trips, and we are so excited to hopefully welcome Redbirds on them. Thank you, everyone.
Robert, we have a few questions, and perhaps this conversation will draw some more questions out that our Redbirds are thinking of. The first is, what type of travel insurance is available and at what cost?
Sure. So there's quite a few options for travel insurance. Um, the different levels. So for example, if you can do a cancel for any reason, which means up until 24 hours before the trip, you don't have to give a single reason. You just say, I'm cancel, you get all your money back. And that's going to be a lot more. Um, they have the various levels. I'm not great at this because I'm not actually legally allowed to quote the travel insurance companies, but say in the ballpark of maybe 5 to 10% of the trip cost.
Thank you. Okay, the questions are rolling in. Here's a good one. What is the weather like during this particular time of year? And would the cuisine serve a variety of dietary needs, including vegetarian and vegan?
So to the dietary questions, yes, of course. All of our trips, uh, and especially our flavors, since that is one of the big elements, we want everyone to be able to enjoy it. We can do any dietary needs. Weather, that time of year is going to be really nice, and that's why we do the trip in the fall. So it tends to be not humid, kind of nice dry air, and about, I think, like in the low to mid 70s throughout the trip.
Thank you. We have a Redbird who asks if we'll have access to the recording later. Yes, we are recording this and we will put it on the website, and we'll also send it out to the attendees. So yes, the recording is coming. Thank you for asking that. Next question, is alcohol included besides wine, such as beer and mixed drinks?
Yep. So wine and beer at every meal as much as you want. Spirits are extra.
Thank you. And my friend Gary Gemberling asked, did we talk about cost? And that was at one of the first slides. So can you show that
Yeah.
slide again?
So it is 5,395 per person, and that includes everything basically except for spirits and air.
And then the pre and post trip were additional costs.
Correct.
Someone's asking, any plans for a trip to Scotland or Finland for Northern Lights?
So this was, I was going to end with this, is that if you have destinations and places you're interested in, please let Chris know, because we do have various other areas we go to, and I would love for her to kind of maybe compile what the Redbird community is interested in, because we've got options.
Yes. Next question, where would you fly out from? So airfare questions. Can you
Sure.
talk about your services in helping our Redbirds with airfare as well?
Sure. So basically, if you book or you're interested, we're on the phone. We have a wonderful guest services team. You're not, it's no automated stuff because we are a smaller company. You'll have an individual or two that you're working with directly, and they'll give you multiple options. For this particular trip, the main program, you fly into and out of Verona, and they have really great options. I think there's United and America and their American and their partners. If you do one of the extensions, it would be Milan or Venice.
Thank you. Is tax included in the original cost of $5,395?
Yes.
Are there group flight fares available?
Unfortunately, we've never been able to kind of nail that. It's so hard with people from all sorts of different um, cities, depending on the school. We tried it probably 6 or 7 years ago, and it never worked out. So unfortunately, no.
Could we travel with a friend that didn't attend Illinois State on this tour, or is it Redbird exclusive? I can take that one.
Yeah.
We welcome Redbird friends and friends of friends, and we are excited to mingle with everyone. We are marketing this to Redbirds, but it is open to Redbird friends as well. How much downtime versus scheduled tours?
Sure. So, very important for us to have free time for people to explore on their own. And the short answer is every day we bake in, a few hours, typically in the late afternoon, to just kind of explore, wander, get lost. Um, but also it can be as much or as little as you want. So you can stay maybe with one of our guides or one of the families we're with and just say, I don't want to explore. I just want to hang out with you. Or you can say, hey, this is great. I'm not a big balsamic vinegar person. I'm going to go kind of shuffle into town and just eat some locals. So, and being a small group and with a travel director, they can help with all of that.
Thank you. Do the accommodations have private or shared bathrooms?
All private.
Is there a certain flight time that we need to pick?
Yeah, so we give like kind of a range on our regular arrival days and our regular departure days, where if you arrive in that window, we'll have complimentary transfers. Let's say you arrive 2 days early, we might not be able to give you a complimentary transfer, but we can certainly arrange one for you.
What time do we need to arrive on the first day, and what time do we leave on the last day?
That is a good question, but typically when you fly to the US, you get into like in Verona, for example, you get in sometime in the late morning, early afternoon, um, and that's kind of cross border. And then the last day, typically you fly out of Europe to go back to the US. Again, you can do whenever you like, but typically you could do it again, late morning, early afternoon, kind of noonish. But we provide you all that and we'll give you all the options.
Good question. How much walking is there? How nimble and able do you have to be?
Mhm. So this is a moderately active trip. So this is not very much. We say you need to be able to get up, 2 flights of stairs here and there, maybe have some uneven cobblestone, but you're never walking more than about a quarter mile or so at any time. However, if you are more active, there are hikes you can do. There's bike trails we offer. So wide ranging, but to experience everything, you can certainly do it in a very mild manner.
This question, I'm going to add on to this question because this is a good one. Is there a limit to the number of travelers for the Italy trip? And what if we hopefully exceed our 20? What do we do?
Mhm. Hopefully we add a second one. Unfortunately, I wish it could be a group of, we try to keep the group small and it's dependent on the property, and the property can really only handle 20 people in a good way. Um, whereas the Galapagos, we could put 40 people on the ship. So if it exceeds, we'll try to add a second departure and have two trips, same itinerary and everything.
Is a deposit required to save a spot? And when is payment in full required?
Mhm. So there is a deposit when you place the reservation. Final payment is at 90 days prior to the trip, and the penalties accrue within the 90 days. And I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but on the link below, at the bottom, there are terms and conditions, and you can see exactly kind of what the benchmarks are.
Here's a great question. Is gelato readily available on this tour?
All over the place, and the real deal too. And you'll meet a few folks who are very passionate, some would say fiery, about what real gelato is. So you'll get plenty of gelato.
Next question. Can you give us some estimate prices for flights leaving the US from Chicago?
Yeah, so that's I mean it really can vary, but I just saw recently somebody was able to book some flights round trip from Chicago to a general kind of area, $800, $900, but it really can vary by airline, when you book, things of that nature.
When will you have more information about the 2026 trip? That's up on our website already.
Yeah, so it's up there, and there's a lot more thorough information on there than there was, I think, 2 weeks ago. We just
Yes.
kind of added a lot more. So I would recommend checking that out and then give us a ring because
Yeah.
our people love talking about it.
The reason that we chose OrBridge and Robert is because of their personalized attention. We've all heard Illinois State, we provide our students with personalized attention. That's why we chose this vendor, is because, the relationship that we've built, and we want our Redbirds to be well taken care of. Is there a payment plan deposit due date? I think that you already mentioned that, the deposit due date. I guess the payment plan is a different question.
So for making like payments along the scale, we can certainly work on individual basis.
Is the deposit 100% refundable if back out prior to 90 days?
Prior to no, so very commonplace in the industry. If you put a deposit down, then prior to your final payment, if you need to cancel, there's an administrative fee. A lot of that goes to because we're holding the space, and that's kind of par for the course. For us, I think the administrative fee would be $200 if you need to cancel before the final payment. However, if you make a booking and within 30 days, something happens, you can't think of it, we'll give you your deposit 100% back.
Great, thank you. Historically, do more retired alum take advantage of these trips?
More and more, it's really a wide range. I would say you know, we welcome all ages is the answer. But yeah, typically we would see people, 50 and older typically take it because they have the time maybe to go and do these things. But we welcome everyone.
Will we need foreign currency or can we use US currency while on the trip?
Yeah, so it's always good to bring at least like 100 to $150 US dollars with you, cash, because that'll get you out of any jam. Not that you will get into a jam with us, but that's always good. As far as in Italy, they accept all the major credit cards, including American Express, and you can get euros out while you're there, and the euro is kind of the accepted currency.
Okay. Any other questions? I'll give you all a few more seconds to submit them if you need additional answers. Oh, here's one. Here we go. What will the pre-tour prep look like? For example, would the group meet beforehand to discuss travel details and preparation?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, we would do we call them kind of like a tour briefing ahead of time to just kind of go over last minute things. Hey, make sure your passport's up to date. Hey, take a picture of your travel insurance. No, you don't need to bring insect repellent. Yeah, you're going to want sunglasses for that kind of thing. And those are always great because in addition to going through the X's and O's, it also kind of gets excitement for the trip. So yeah, we would definitely do that.
Great. Yes, we would do that. Any other last minute questions? Okay, seeing none. I would like to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart for being here this evening. We're excited about this opportunity. We're excited to offer these unique experiences to our alumni and friends. If you have questions, feel free to look at the website, look at our website, or email us with any questions. We are happy to help you. And we're looking forward to seeing you in Northern Italy. Robert, thank you for your time this evening. We're excited
My
about
pleasure.
this. So,
Thank you.
okay, we will record. This is being recorded, so we will post this on our website, but we'll also send it out to you as well. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Go Birds.
Go Birds.